Hey, good morning. I just want to briefly share a little bit about our new logo and what it all means. As was mentioned Sunday, that I would be sending out a video about that. So you might have noticed right away that there was a change in how the cross looks. You might be a little confused by the shape of the cross. Why is it that it's all the same, length? All of the different parts of it are the same length. It's symmetrical from top to bottom and to the left to the right. So these different crosses. So sometimes the one that we traditionally see is often called the Latin cross. The one that we've gone with is more of a Greek form. So if you look back at some of the ancient symbols of the cross, you'll see that they look more like a plus sign, I guess. And a lot of times also had these four quadrants. And so we've kind of gone with a more, ancient kind of feel to it, a Gothic feel. The windows in our new building will have Gothic-shaped arches on the windows, and some of the other designs and elements within our church will have that, as you'll see. So we wanted to go with a more of an ancient feel. That was part of it, just to really just if nothing else, just to sort of remind ourselves, and to kind of give our community and those who might be seeking a sense of what we're about. That we're not just some just pushing aside tradition and pushing aside history, but we really think that history and tradition have tremendous value and can be very helpful. And so we want to just kind of give that impression, or remind anyone searching or seeking, that we have, and really all of us as well, that we believe in ancient faith. That is something that goes way back in history. So we have ancient foundations. That we stand upon the foundation of the apostles and prophets and the church of ages past. And so that's what we want to communicate. But those four cubes that are turned sideways like a diamond in the quadrants are not just decoration. Those actually mean something. If you've been part of Grace Church for any length of time, you've heard me preach on Acts 2:42 through 47. That has been my theme verse for our vision for quite some time. And Acts 2:42 through 47 says that the early church was devoted to the apostles' teaching, to the fellowship, to the breaking of bread, and to prayer. And so we, in our Reformed tradition, refer to these as the ordinary means of grace. That the people who were first came to know Christ devoted themselves to the teaching. So whenever the apostles were teaching, they were there. Listening, they were present, they were committed to the teaching, they were absorbing it, they were putting it into practice, they were applying themselves to the word, and so forth. And then the fellowship, really kind of, that's not referring to coffee hour, or just kind of eating, even though it doesn't exclude that either, but that's referring to the fellowship. That's a noun there in the passage, and so that's referring to the body, to the gathering, to the people, and that God does communicate His grace through the word. Especially when God's people are gathered together as the fellowship. God uses each other. He uses the body to minister to all of the parts of the body. And then the breaking of bread was often, that can refer to fellowship meals like what we have, but also to the sacraments, to the Lord's Supper. And so that's sort of just shorthand for the sacraments. That God has ordained the sacraments of baptism and the Lord's Supper to be a means through which He communicates His grace and strengthens His people and nurtures us. So, and then also to prayer. Prayer being one of the most important aspects of our life together. So these are the four things that these quadrants, these two diamonds represent. Is these ordinary means of grace. Now, of course, the other thing about the cross is that part of the reason we wanted to go with a more symmetrical cross is that it's almost like crosshairs, right? That we are centered on grace. We are centered on Christ. Christ is the focal point. He is central in all aspects of our life together, just like I've been preaching on Sunday from 1 Timothy, and how important it is that Christ is the focus. And so we're Christ-centered, and that's also what that represents. And then those four quadrants are the sort of helping us focus in or gaze into the grace that Christ offers us regularly. that he offers us through these means, through the word, through the sacraments, through prayer, through fellowship. So, and so this serves then as a reminder to us as a church of what we're all about. That these are the things we want to focus on. It's common, I think, in our day for churches to focus on a lot of things, on various different programs and gimmicks and things like that. There's a place for programs, of course. We're not anti-program, but sometimes those things can really be the front and center, of having some sort of program, some sort of, it can be whatever. It can be a number of things, musical, youth. And certainly we like those. Those are good things, and they can be very useful. But this serves as a reminder for us that really what Jesus wants us to focus on are the main things, right? And the main things are the plain things, and the plain things are the main things, as has been said by other pastors. And I think that's worth remembering, is that he has given us the most basic things and has promised to use them to bless us and to extend to us and communicate to us his grace. And so that's what we want to focus on as a church, is these ordinary means, and that these ordinary means help us center our thoughts and our hearts and our minds and our worship on Christ. And everything we do is centered on Christ. Now, we dropped community out of the name, not officially. We are still Grace Community Church. Officially and legally, we can still refer to ourselves as that. But some of it was just practical. It's easier to say Grace Church rather than Grace Community Church. It's just long. We started to, at least I did, and started to question what the word community communicates and what it means. It does mean something, I think, but it has, to our culture, it has been sort of a broad, sort of catch-all phrase to just sort of mean anything. And so people see community and they don't really know what we believe. They don't really know anything about us. I think that in the past, the intention was for us to appeal to a broader group of Christians. And I don't think that has been as helpful maybe as it was intended to be. So we want to, and that's also why you see Presbyterian Church in America under the name, is to communicate the fact that we are Presbyterian, that we are part of that Reformed tradition, and so we want to emphasize that more in our logo and just what we're communicating. So it's symbolic of our heritage, of our past, of our ancient roots, and so that's sort of the meaning of it all. So I hope that helps, and certainly if you have any questions, you can ask me. But I just want to encourage everyone to take those means of grace seriously, to even really ask yourself the question: how committed are you to those means of grace? I think it encourages us to take more seriously our times together, to be more committed to our gathering together as the body of Christ, to not allow other things to sort of distract us and pull us away from our gathering, because that's what we're doing, is we're neglecting those means when we have other things that take precedent over our gathering together as a church family. So going forward, as we look ahead of the future, that's what I think we need to be known as, a church that is committed to these means, it's committed to prayer, it's committed to the fellowship, committed to the sacraments, that's committed to the word, that's committed to making Christ, much of Christ in all things.